listening to Into the Spotlight with Osaka Jack on Everfree Network. Hello everyone, this is Osaka Jack with Into the Spotlight on Everfree Network. With me today I have someone you might be familiar with. Possibly. He's done a few things that you might know. Mr. Peter New. Hello.
Hello.
How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you very much.
Oh, excellent. Now, there is a very small chance that someone might not be aware of who you are. Could you please inform them while the rest of us snicker and mock and point in their direction?
All right, I shall. My name is Peter New. I am usually known for playing a member of the Apple family who says very little beyond "yup" and "no," named Giant
Whopper, wasn't it?
Can't remember the name.
Giant Whopper, I think. It's some kind of hamburger.
Some kind of hamburger, yeah.
Right.
Giant Whopper. I think he's called Beef Butt, maybe? I'm
there
not
we
sure.
Go, yes.
Yeah.
All right, now this is a character I want to see art of, Beef Butt.
Oh, dear. What have I done? Already, we're 10 seconds into the interview, and I already regret this. What do we do?
If my interview stays on track for the entire time, I feel like a failure. That's the honest to God truth. If I go back into editing and I can construct an easy conversation line through the whole thing, I'm like, wow, I messed up. I'm going to see if I can re-record this, because that's just horrible.
It must be disjointed and hard to follow. I'm like a musician, man. Like a really avant-garde, inaccessible music is what I'm all about, except with conversations.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? The rutabagas are beside the table. I have a guitar.
Rhubarb, man. Rutabagas are so 2014 earlier in the day.
That's right. Those are August 2014, but early August 2014.
Mm-hmm.
By early August, I mean like before the 26th.
Exactly.
But only before noon.
Right.
And only before noon in like Central Time.
Central Time? Hipster.
I know, right?
I was in Eastern Time before Central Time was Central Time.
That's right. I was Greenwich before Eastern was.
What do you mean? Okay, sorry. I'm going to see who gets that pun, but I'm not going to explain it.
I saw a picture on Instagram. It was the most hipster picture I've ever seen in my life from a friend of mine from this outside. I think it's outside a coffee shop that in Vancouver that is like hipster central.
Okay.
And it was like the newspaper boxes right outside the coffee shop, and it was like a rabbit on a leash tied to the newspaper box with like a bunch of carrots in front of it so that it would stay there.
All right, now I actually have friends who have rabbits to say I don't like this person because carrots are actually not all that healthy for rabbits as a general diet food.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, other greenery is fine. Carrots should be an occasional treat.
Maybe it was its occasional treat.
Oh, okay. That's a good point.
Right, you don't know from a hipster picture.
That's very true. Absolutely, yes. I'm going to go at the other end and say Japan is adapting faster. There are actually cars that have normal front seats, but the back seats have been taken out and replaced with wood paneling so that your pet can be in the back and you don't have to worry about cleaning up from carpets.
Yeah.
So we have actually gone full circle on that.
Fair point.
Well, I'm sure that you've been asked many times how you got started in Pony.
Well, yeah, I'm happy to answer it.
Okay.
It's interesting. I mean, I have been asked many times. I'm going to go on a little sidetrack. I have been asked that question many times, but what I find interesting about being asked a thing many times is that I've never asked the question, even though it's the same question, I've never asked it in precisely the same way.
Huh.
And the result, therefore, is that I give a slightly different answer every single time. So it's always interesting, I think, to answer the same question.
Sure.
Even though the answer is often same-ish.
Right.
I've never answered by saying that the answers are different before. This whole diatribe, which will probably get cut, is brand new. So that's interesting.
No, I'm leaving this now.
Fantastic. I know. Gold! So how I got started was, how I got started in Pony was your question, which is interesting for me because most people ask how I got started in voice acting, which is a different deal. Mm-hmm. Pony was just, I was already a voice actor, so mm-hmm. I got a call from my agent saying, you have an audition for a show called My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic. It's tomorrow morning. Mm-hmm. Here are some materials. You go in at 8:30 or something, and whatever time.
Cruel.
I think they were recording, they recorded the first season at 9 a.m., I think.
Oh my goodness.
I think so, anyway. And it doesn't matter. Whatever time it was. And then I arrived at the audition. It was one of these auditions that was being done at that studio where they would bring in 1 or 2 people, maybe 3 or 4 at the most. And just before the session. So they were going to record that character that day. It was going to be one of you 4.
Right.
Or however many there were, I don't recall. Mm-hmm. But each of you takes a turn. You go into the room, do your thing in front of the directors, and Lauren Faust is on the telephone, and mm-hmm. And then you come back out and you wait around. Meanwhile, the rest of the cast, who already has their job, they show up, start having their morning coffee and saying hello and ask what you're doing there, and then eventually they come out and they point at one of you and say, "You're it," and then everybody else has to slump home embarrassed. I've been on both sides of that audition, and it's
sure.
It's awful no matter what. You feel awful.
Oh,
you feel awful for getting the job because you're like, I'm really sorry, you guys. You guys are really talented guys. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I think it's probably what it feels like to win an Oscar. You get up on the stage and you're like, this is awesome. I love that I got this. Wow, Jack Nicholson, I'm really sorry. Jack and Johnny Depp, you're amazing. I'm really sorry that I took this from you. It's not fair to you, Brad. I'm sorry, George.
And Leo DiCaprio is burning holes into your stomach with his
Leo, you didn't even get nominated. That sucks for you. You were so good in that thing that you were in. You're always so good. Where are the noms? Scorsese's just goes, how do you just miss it?
When I'm not completely familiar with it, but when you're doing an audition like that, do you get to hear the other people auditioning?
No.
Okay.
No. You go in one at a time, and then you do your thing, and then. But the thing is, they choose you, and then you go in, and that's it. You go in the room right then and do the show.
Okay.
And so that was it. You do the audition, and then 15 minutes later, you're in it.
Okay. Does has it ever occurred that the rest of the cast has a say in which person auditioning gets the role?
No, they don't.
Okay. I didn't figure it would be a common thing, but I was just wondering if there was any time where they're like, well, who do you work best with?
I mean, I've been in that sort of situation on different things. I was writing for a show.
Okay.
Where we realized we needed to bring it was a sort of news magazine parody show, and we needed to bring a couple of reporters back because we hadn't cast an episode, and we didn't want to bring in new reporters for the episode. So of the 12 reporters we'd hired, which were the 2 that I thought, I was given them the chance to put my 2 cents in that situation. But in animation, it's never been up to us. It's always been up to the directors and who.
Well, yeah, I obviously would think it's the director's final choice. I was just wondering if the director had ever asked for your opinion on.
No. I think the assumption is that we're all working at a professional level. I think this is true too. We're all working at a professional enough level that even if you don't 100% get along with somebody, you can still work with them.
Oh yeah, there's a huge difference between being a friendly coworker and being a friend. I understand this very well.
Yeah.
The other teacher in my school and I, we have never talked outside the walls of our school. And I know that both of us, I think we're both aware of it, but even if we're on the same train, I will conveniently head to the back of the train, and he will conveniently head to the front of the train, so we don't have to chat during the train ride, because we don't like each other very much. But my goodness, we are professional teachers, and we're good at it. And friendly to each other in the school. Just, yeah.
Well, and that's all that's necessary, you know, and you sort of... I don't think there's anybody that I outwardly don't get along with. You know, I actually am really quite friendly with most of the people that I end up working with. But you know, you aren't friends with everybody.
Yeah.
And that much as you might wish, you know, otherwise. But there's too many of us. It's a huge community. So.
Yeah, I would imagine that karaoke night would take about 6 months to plan. Make sure everybody has a free day.
Oh, I know. Well, there have been a number of parties and things that I just haven't been able to attend and stuff like that. But,
Though honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, a giant cast karaoke party would be about the best thing ever.
Perhaps. To witness, perhaps.
Okay, future cons, take note.
You know what? Although I think Ashley would just win them. Don't you think? Ashley and Shannon.
Probably, yeah.
Ashley and Shannon would just win them. I don't know. No, Andrea could get up there too. Andrea's a brilliant singer.
Kazumi Evans. Yeah.
Kazumi, yeah. Oh, there's a lot of good singers.
Yeah.
Actually. What was I saying? I just assumed Ashley because she has a band, but you know what?
Well, if she chose some Hey Ocean songs, I think she could probably nail it a lot more than anybody else.
That's right. I'm gonna sing I Am a Heart. Better than her. Just do the thing with your fingers at your eyes. I'm watching you ball. I am a heart that's hard to pin. Huh? Yes?
I think it could work.
Yeah, totally.
Everyone, Peter New's album will be out next month. And be pulled from shelves about a day and a half later.
That's right. I don't know. Once the comedy value of it is gone.
Hey, Jerky Boys sold a few million albums, so why not, you know?
Why not?
Yeah.
I could be the next Jerky Boys. That could be my claim to fame.
That would be both awesome and incredibly embarrassing.
Yeah.
And I'm curious now who listening has any idea what we're talking about. Because I've just realized that this is in the days when answering machines were still in use.
Oh, God, yeah. Well, we do still have voicemails.
Yeah, we have voicemails, but it's difficult to prank someone when you know who's calling you.
Yeah, everybody's got...
Wake up.
Yeah, everybody's got the, what you call thing that where you can... Yeah.
Caller ID, yeah.
Caller ID.
Well, you've been in quite a few animation as voices recently. But that's not the extent that... I mean, that's not all that you've done.
No.
There have been a few things recently. One, I honestly, I would love to get an update on it. How is Alien Abduction doing?
I haven't heard a lot lately about it, but that is unsurprising.
Sure.
When we weren't selected as the winner of the Cineku.
We tried.
Thank you, everybody, for trying. I really do appreciate it. We came very close. We were top 5 out of 90, which is astonishing. It's fantastic. But when we weren't selected as the top one, Cineku sort of took the Granger brothers aside and said, we want to make this movie, and we want to try and do it with an even bigger budget than the $1 million we were promising you as the winner of this thing. But what that means is that then they had to pursue sort of more traditional funding channels to try to get the money. And that is often a years-long process.
Sure.
And so that's the last I heard, that is where we're at. I think the guys are trying to get brush their script up a little bit. And then...
I suppose for those who aren't familiar with it, Alien Abduction was... what we call it, a filmlet or a mini-film that was attempted...
It was a trailer. The way Cineku was essentially a contest, but it was a contest about film financing in Canada. In Canada, films are made with much smaller budgets because we have fewer seats in our theaters total to make it worth spending a lot of money on a movie. Mm-hmm. So the idea behind Cineku was that one movie was going to get picked and given $1 million budget to get made, which is, a good sized budget for a film.
Oh yeah.
In this country. So, one movie was going to get selected, and how they were going to determine which one was going to get selected was based on a series of challenges that each team had to accomplish over about a 6 or 8 month period. Mm-hmm. Beginning with each team had to submit a 5-minute, 3-minute trailer. Like it was you had to make a trailer for your movie, like what would appear in the movie theaters for movies 6 months before yours came out. So 90 teams made a trailer, including Alien Abduction, and then they just got winnowed down to 5. Mm-hmm. And the top 5 teams went to the Banff Television Festival, or if that's what they still call it, and pitched to big names and whatnot, and one got the $1 million.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
It looked hilarious.
Well, it was really great fun. It was great fun. I love working with Maddie and Mikey Granger, and also with Patrick Gilmore. We've worked together before in Sunflower Hour as well, and it's just great fun. It was all great fun. It was nonstop good times, basically.
I do hope it gets made. For anyone who hasn't seen the trailer, essentially the entirety of the human race is going to be judged on one man who is kind of a douche.
Yeah. Except, yeah. I play the alien. I'm blue.
Yes. And I don't know if it was part of the alien language that you had decided on, but there was a almost musical gurgle language that you had.
That's right. I did have a musical gurgle.
Which I would like for a ringtone at some point, but...
We'll arrange that at a future date.
Yay! Woohoo! Gurgle ringtone. Okay. Do you hear someone drowning? Oh, hold on. Someone's calling me. Hold on. Hello?
No, that's just my musical gurgle.
But you mentioned it just briefly now. But yes, another thing that you're in is Sunflower Hour.
Yes, indeed.
Which I believe that's gotten a Leo Award nomination, right?
And wins. Joanna Newmarch, who played my whenever we see each other at auditions now, we call each other porn wife and porn husband, because we played producers of pornography who had decided to go into children's television, naturally, and produce this puppet show for kids. And so the movie is a mockumentary about us getting a new puppeteer, basically.
And we should mention
but she won
the
a
movie is not for kids.
For children,
no.
as might be indicated by the fact that I just used the phrase "porn wife" in this interview.
Yes.
But twice now, apparently.
Yeah.
But it's a very funny film, and but obviously not for everyone. And I think it's got quite a lovely heart to it, to be honest.
Oh,
though my actual character, I was nominated for a Leo Award, and Joanna was nominated and won one, and
nice.
And I think it was nominated for a few others. I think I can't recall whether it won any at this point, but it. What was I going to say?
Your character itself?
My character itself is horrifying. He's a horrifying guy. It was so fun because it's not often that you get to explore being that totally awful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so to me, that's, as an actor, that's a real compelling challenge, because you get to, I'm not a totally awful person in real life, despite what you've heard.
You mean when I've started? Really... I mean, heard. Yes, heard. I didn't started any rumors and gotten petitions and things. No.
So it was really interesting. It was really fun for me to just be so completely egomaniacal. And I mean, egomaniacal is not really that guy, but he was just awful. He was just an awful guy. Mm-hmm. And it was so fun to be awful to everyone, always.
I can feel that. One of the last things I did in acting was I was the general in The Mouse That Roared. And I got to yell at everybody, and it was so cool because I'm usually not that loud and forceful. And no, I understand. It's good to let your bad guy chops get out every once in a while.
Yeah, it was fun. It's just been made available on iTunes in Canada. I don't know if it's been made available on iTunes anywhere else, but
I can tell you, Japan, no. But then again, iTunes Japan doesn't have most of the things that you're in, so
well, that's too bad for Japan.
Yes, it is. Makes things difficult for me, but.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that's the way. But if it's never mind.
What is the drink of the night?
I'm drinking a Rum Runner Red Ale from the Persephone Brewing Company, which is a local microbrewery here on the Sunshine Coast in beautiful British Columbia. They source their ingredients all locally from within BC, and they even grow their own hops right there on their property. And I'm drinking this delicious hoppy red ale, and it's very yummy.
That's interesting. Not a lot of microbreweries here, which is disappointing. But then again, I like Japanese beer a lot.
There's nothing wrong with a good Japanese beer.
Give me an Asahi Super Dry 500 milliliter can. That's the end of the day. I'm good. We're done for the day. Yeah, it's quite refreshing. And yes. I speak as a St. Louis native coming from Budweiser town. I didn't enjoy beer until I came here.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Bud. I'm sorry, the Budweiser people. I'm happy to advertise for you. You can pretend that this interview never happened.
I think the first beer I was ever legally offered was a Bud Light, and I drank a little bit, and I said, why do people like this?
I actually, one of the first beers I ever had, I think, was a Budweiser, and I didn't like it at all.
And then I came here, and I was introduced to, you're supposed to have some bubbles? Really? And it's supposed to have alcohol in it? Oh my goodness.
And it's supposed to have flavor?
Whoa! Go figure.
Yeah.
But I still get it. I appreciate it, but I have to admit it's equally annoying if I'm going out with a group of friends and they decide to order something from my hometown for me. They're like, here, it's a Budweiser for you. I'm like, thank you.
Goody. Yeah.
Wow, thank you for getting me this $7 beer.
Yeah. I do try to have local beers wherever I travel. Because you can't get everything everywhere. So I think it's always interesting to eat and drink locally. And I've been, lucky enough in the last couple of years to be traveling to all these different places, mostly for conventions and things. But it's been interesting to be able to try all of these different local brews.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So that's been a lovely side effect of the journey.
I have a student who just finished a 2-week homestay in Australia, and she came back and apparently demanded to her mother that they go eat Japanese food before they could go home. She was so craving hometown food. And she said she liked the Australian food just fine. It's just they don't have... I think she demanded rice.
Yeah, isn't it? It's interesting how sometimes something that you take for granted can be so difficult for somebody else to create.
I get to have turkey once a year, and that's on a $20 sandwich.
Wow.
It's not a bird that's available over here. And I really like it, and I miss it.
Yeah. I don't know what I would miss. What would I miss? I just had an amazing fish and chips tonight for dinner.
Ooh, nice.
Good, fresh right from the ocean. I live right on the water.
Right.
They, so like fresh halibut and chips with.
Ooh, nice.
Like coconut shrimp and lamb fries and regular fries. And,
very amazing. Surprising to me when I came here. Japan does not know how to fry fish very well.
Really?
Sushi, sashimi, baked fish, broiled fish, all of those are just fantastic. But they cannot fry fish well to save their lives.
Interesting.
If I head home, even to America, even to the middle of the country, I will ask if we can get some fried fish somewhere.
Wait, by fried you mean deep fried?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Deep fried, or some deep fried catfish. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Japan doesn't have a whole lot of deep fried. I mean, they like do the gyoza and.
Well, there is tempura. I mean, tempura is deep fried, but they never use fish for it.
Oh, it's shrimp.
Shrimp or beef, pork, vegetables. Pumpkin tempura is just fantastic.
I don't think I've ever had any other like meat tempura besides shrimp.
Shrimp is the most common one, but I've gone to some places. They actually have a kushikatsu style, which is a buffet style. In your table, in the middle of the table, is a deep fat fryer.
Oh, wow.
And you go up and get like tons of food on a stick, and there's a bowl of batter and a bowl of breadcrumbs at your table. You dip it in the batter, in the breadcrumbs, and put it right in the fryer in the middle of your table, and when it's done, you take it out and eat it.
I want to do that. That sounds great.
It's so fun. You have to make sure you go to the nice ones that provide you with a paper apron, though.
Yeah,
because it does splatter from time to time.
I love it. I love that the classy places give you a paper apron.
Yep. Yeah. That's how you can tell it's a good place.
If ever there's I get invited to a Japanese pony convention, you'll have to take me out.
I am trying. I can tell you this right now. I am trying.
That'd be awesome.
Don't have a lot of people coming to the convention yet.
Well, it's not really sort of taken hold there the way it took hold everywhere else, you know.
Well, it's later. I mean, they just finished season 2 a few months ago.
Yeah.
And they haven't even officially announced that season 3 is coming out in Japanese yet. So anybody that watches it has watched it in English.
Which is good for me.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And we're trying to have what guests we can, but actually the last 2 conventions were the first ones that we actually had enough people attend where we could pay for the hall.
Well, that's good. That's something.
Yeah, it's an improvement.
It's, you know, I mean, it's such an amazing phenomenon. The whole thing is such an amazing phenomenon.
Mm-hmm. How many people were at the, I mean, you just came back from BronyCon a little bit ago.
Yeah, Baltimore at the beginning of the month.
I think it was 9,800.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it was around 10,000, so that is about right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was huge. But what was interesting was it was in a space that was so big that it was sort of only rarely that it felt any huger than any other convention.
Okay, so not a lot of crowding?
Yeah, and obviously I think it would be a different experience to be an attendee than to be a guest, because, you know, we were getting ushered from one thing to the next thing to the next thing to the next thing, and often down these sort of back corridors, so I sort of unfortunately missed more than I would have liked. But
right.
But there were sort of like 3 times for me where I was like, oh yeah, right, this is really big. And I think the most telling was the vendors hall.
Okay.
Because it was huge.
Mm-hmm.
It was huge and it was packed everywhere you went. And you know, like the vendors hall is usually in some sort of small room off to the side that's big enough to have the vendors that you've got, whatever.
Right.
But this one was like it was in a huge room. It was in the room that would have been the main hall at a smaller convention.
Oh, okay, all right.
It was a huge room, and just full of people. It was amazing.
That's a lot of money taking place, and I'm glad that Baltimore has accepted how much money comes to the city when that happens.
Yeah, Baltimore, the city, has been great, I think. I mean, from what I can see, they've been terrific. Mm-hmm. They, more than any other convention I've been to, the city of Baltimore gave BronyCon a bunch of tickets to the Orioles game, so when we arrived on Thursday afternoon and essentially went straight to the stadium and watched the Orioles play at Camden Yards.
Nice.
And, you know, and that was on the city.
That's really great.
Which was really cool.
Yeah.
They were really accepting of it. Like, all the hotels had, and I've seen other hotels and other places do this, but all the hotels had, BronyCon specific key cards made up for all of their guests while we were around. And,
nice.
Just the city seemed really open to it. I remember going out to dinner. It's so funny. We went out to dinner at this fancy French place, which was at a hotel not ours but nearby. It was a really nice place, really good food, called the French Kitchen.
Okay.
And
I have to say, just real flat out, I really appreciate a French restaurant not using French as their name. Just because I have never been more embarrassed than when I try to pronounce anything in French.
Well, I respect that, but but I also understand why a French restaurant might want to use French in their name.
I understand completely as well. Just that is the only French restaurant that I am aware of that I can be safely sure I am pronouncing it correctly.
Fair enough.
Okay, sorry. I digress.
We went there and we had this really nice young guy as our waiter, who had no idea what was happening. He'd seen some cosplay around, and he knew that it was going on. Obviously, there were some people staying at the hotel.
Sure.
They were going to the convention, and so he could tell that we were part of it. I guess some of us still had our badges on or whatnot, and I think it was Andrea and me and our handlers and a couple of other people were there, and so it came out that we were the voices on the show, and we were the guests of the convention, and he thought that was just great, and he started asking us questions about, like, so what's it like to be on the show, and what's this fandom like, and he was really interested in all of it. He really wanted to know about it, and then he like bought our drinks, and then
nice.
It was he was really into it. He was the type of guy that in a lot of other places might just judge it, just immediately right off, just go, I've seen a lot of weirdos around. What's the weirdos? But he didn't do that. He approached it with a sort of genuine curiosity, and I sort of found that that was the common thing in Baltimore.
Huh.
And later I went back there with a slightly different group to get a couple more drinks, and we had the same guy. And he bought us some drinks, and he wanted to know who everybody was, and he was still really curious about it. But the really funny part of it was that he had to open a new bottle of wine for us at one point, but had lost his opener.
Uh-oh.
So he came to the table and said, "I just want to apologize in advance. I've lost my opener, so I don't want to alarm you when I use my switchblade to open this wine." And then he whips out his switchblade, jacks it into the cork, and goes, "Welcome to Baltimore." And I just thought, this is perfect. This sort of sums up Baltimore to me entirely, in that it seems like it was a really welcoming place, who was really interested and involved and wanted to share in what was happening in its community.
Sure.
But it still had this sort of undertone of like possible horrifying violence, but never without kindness. There was always kindness there. So I really enjoyed it.
That's great. I remember thoroughly enjoying your vine of Holy Smokles.
Holy Smokles, yeah. Holy Smokles. There were a lot of people out there. Yeah. That was another one of those times that you go, "Oh yeah, this is a way bigger room."
I saw a few vines of closing ceremonies where they played "Time to Say Goodbye" in that room while they're bouncing beach balls all around. It looked fun.
Yeah, there was a lot of fun at that con.
One little activity that they had you do was 20 questions.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I had a great time doing that. I had no idea what to expect from that at all. But it was fun. I played 20 questions with a group of kids, for an hour. I answered yup and nope.
Okay. That's what I was going to add. It was I could assume that was how it went with yep and nope, but
Yep.
I didn't see that said specifically, so I was okay.
Yeah, well, I started that way, but it's actually hard to maintain that for a full hour.
Oh, sure.
And the kids were getting a kick out of, after a while, they started to get a kick out of asking me silly questions.
Sure.
So I would be like, okay, I have a new thing. I'm ready to, you go ahead and start asking your questions. And they would say, are you ever going to answer yup and nope again? I'm like, okay, well, that's question one. And the answer is maybe.
Between that and I know it wasn't as recent, but I still like the Jenga game.
That was good fun. We actually ended up playing Jenga just on our own time in Baltimore. Andrea and
that's right. I saw her Vine when the thunderstorm hit.
Yeah, we got trapped at a bar in a thunderstorm. Worst place to get trapped.
Well, I don't know, considering that apparently there were tornado warnings right outside the city. I think you guys came off pretty well.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
That is good. It was quite a storm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got off. I guess we got pretty lucky. But they had these Jenga games at the table, and so Andrew just started setting it up. It was our first rematch since Everfree Northwest, and I won the first game.
Woo, nice.
So it was 2 games to zip.
I have seen since then somebody. I thought it was a genius idea because I just cannot play Jenga with my family because they will take 10 minutes per move and drives me nuts. But no, they take a chess timer and set it for only 1 minute. So each side has a total of 1 minute to choose your piece, play it, and then hit to send it to the next person. And if your time goes out, you lose.
It was a pretty good call. Andrea and I played pretty quickly, I think.
Yes, you did. Yes.
We I don't see once you sort of hit on a piece that you're going to go for.
Mm-hmm.
You go for it.
We should mention, though, Andrea does have the engineering degree, so she had an advantage coming in.
I was really surprised that she didn't win. I was convinced that going into that first Jenga game, I was convinced
it was going to be a slaughter.
I thought it was going to be a slaughter. I thought she was just going to, I don't know, pull out the engineering.
Now we know how to annoy people who have engineering degrees.
Yeah,
we will play them in Jenga and win, and watch them.
I don't know how annoyed she was. It was just fun.
Oh yeah. Well, I'd like to mention really fast, if we could, you've recently changed areas.
I have. Not totally, but
well, no, not totally. You're not like next door to me anymore, but
yeah.
But no, I mean
Vancouver.
Yeah, you've moved to an island.
No,
I'm sorry, not an island.
It is very much like an island.
Okay.
Because it is a part of the coast of British Columbia is basically fjords. It's like Norway, but different. So this is I'm on a place called the Sunshine Coast now, which is a beautiful spot. But it's essentially a huge peninsula.
Okay.
Just northwest of Vancouver.
Okay.
That I guess technically there are logging roads that can lead you all the way around.
Okay.
But it would probably take a good, I don't even know how long to drive.
Right.
And uncomfortable, bumpy.
Sure.
Dirty roads. So there's a ferry.
I would do that just once, just to make sure.
I kind of want to do that just once, just to make sure. But yeah. I also maybe want to buy a Land Rover before I do.
Also a good call. Yes.
That. So maybe until I have a friend with a Land Rover, maybe I'll get him to drive over here, and then we'll go back together. But yeah.
But the pictures that you've been tweeting so far have just looked beautiful.
It is gorgeous here, yeah. There's no question.
Huh. I would assume, I mean, it's not that far from Vancouver. I would assume that weather isn't all that different.
No, it's basically the same. It is slightly different. It just gets it hits the weather pattern in a slightly different way, and so whatever, it blows cloud differently than the other mountains do somehow. Sure. But we're right on the open. We're right on the Strait of Georgia, so that's the sea that we look at is right into the open strait. But Vancouver is a little more sheltered. Oh. So
nice. The joys of living in a typhoon-free area.
Ah, yes. Well, but then it's a rainforest, so it's not like it doesn't get wet.
Very true. You get wet. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Well, we've mentioned Sunflower Hour, which people should check out on iTunes, because they can get it now, and be watching an eventual alien abduction, something or other.
We're hoping so.
Yep. But, and I guess if you want to, there's, like, My Little Pony you can watch, and Littlest Pet Shop, and...
Oh, yeah. Littlest Pet Shop. Mm-hmm. I play Sunil the Mongoose and many others in Littlest Pet Shop.
I am curious, just real fast, when when you voice one of the other characters, for example, Goldie Delicious, was that also an audition thing, or was that more of a who wants this role, who's here?
A lot of the time, a role will get cast based on who's present.
Okay.
And because that's how it often works on Littlest Pet Shop, when I get scripts for LPS, if I don't know who's going to be playing a part, I'll just read it out loud.
Okay.
So that I get a sense of what voice I would do. So I have an offer.
Sure.
In case they say, because what'll happen is you'll get to the studio and they'll say, hey, Peter, hey, Kyle, hey, Sam, we want you guys to read for whatever.
Right.
What have you got? Mm-hmm. And so you do it. And so you just get in the habit. If you don't know who's going to be playing it, you just have it ready.
Sure.
So I got to Goldie Delicious, and I didn't know who was going to be playing it, and so I started reading it out loud. And then, the way that I read the script is the first pass is really just I just look for my character name and just see what it says.
Right.
And so I didn't really know what or who Goldie Delicious was.
Right.
I just started reading it out. At first it was kind of down in here, a little lower, you understand.
And then I realized it was an old lady.
So I just pushed it up into there a bit more.
I thought that would be fun. But then it just became like a thing to entertain myself because I never dreamed that I would get it. I just assumed, when you're going into a room that has Tabitha St. Germain and Kathy Westluff and Andrea Libman and Ashley Ball, and you just assume that you're not going to get that role.
Right.
At least I assume that I'm not going to get that role, but I sort of had it, and it was fun to do, and that's such a huge advantage in voice acting is if you're really having fun doing a voice.
Oh yeah.
That sells it. It sells it so much.
Yeah, I don't think everybody realizes how much being genuine comes through in just your voice.
Yeah, it really does. And so if you're getting a real kick out of it,
I just get a kick out of doing it. I just think it's so fun.
So I was just in the waiting room,
just going at it with this and with that.
And they just heard it in the waiting room, and they thought, wouldn't that be funny? And so they brought me into the studio, and Jason and Jim and Terry just sort of stood in the room with me, which has never happened. They're usually on the other side of the glass. They came right into the room with me. And they said, here, listen to this. And we read a few lines. And they're like, yeah, that's good. Let's do that. And so they did it. I was surprised. I will always remember Ashley Ball's face when I started talking as that character. Because she just, she wasn't expecting it to be me either. So she just looked up in absolute shock at me.
That is funny.
Mm-hmm.
I liken it to, I'm not actually sure in Western animation, but I know that it's almost a rule in Japanese animation that any young boy's voice is done by a woman.
It's not a rule necessarily, but it's pretty usual.
And I'm just wondering if this is going to be the start of the opposite, that old lady voices are going to be done by males now.
I don't think so.
No, neither do I, but...
No, it's funny. I mean, I was doing my best, really, just to do a Tabitha St. Germain, Granny Smith impression.
Sure.
But with a bit more southern twist on it than that.
I know that Rob Paulson has said some of his best voices come out of him imitating somebody else imitating something.
Yeah, I've heard Hank Azaria say that too, and or something similar. And I suppose that's true. I don't always. I find that I'm weirdly backwards sometimes. I find that as soon as you say to me what it is that I sound like, I can't do it anymore.
Oh, okay.
You know, like if I were to get into doing,
I did this.
Let's see if I can get it right now.
Oh wow, yeah, I did this maintenance park worker.
Okay.
In Littlest Pet Shop. I just did this sort of a weird kind of forced Chicago type of thing.
Right.
And they, as soon as I did it, they said something about, it sounds like a Dan Aykroyd Chicago accent. Dan Aykroyd doing Chicago.
Right,
and as soon as I heard Dan Aykroyd doing Chicago, I was like, oh yeah, right, it is. And then I started doing it again, and it was gone. Just gone.
Oh no.
Right? Because then I'm not trying to, because for me it's like if
oh wow, yeah, if I'm doing a voice that I think is fun to do, then I'm doing something that's fun for me, and I'm not thinking about
Dan Aykroyd and what his mouth might look like, or what he sounded like when he did the Blues Brothers, or, you know, any of that stuff. It's all out of my head. But as soon as you say, oh yeah, it sounds like Dan Aykroyd, then all of a sudden I'm like, oh yeah, when he was playing in the Blues Brothers, you know, just like it just goes. Because I'm now trying to imitate something instead of doing something genuine.
Sure. I can see that. That makes sense. It's the facial expression thing. People who live together long enough do start to resemble each other, and it's because, and they have found this, it's honest goodness true, when you're looking at someone's face, if you're not thinking about it, you start to imitate their facial expression.
Oh yeah, absolutely, you do.
And after a long period of time, that actually builds up the same muscles if two people are doing the same facial expression for a long time. So their face will actually start to look like the other person's face, because they're both building the same facial muscles.
I think the exact same thing happens with dogs and people.
Yes. I suppose cats, but not quite as much.
Not quite as much, because cats all look sort of unhappy and the same. But I always find people look like their dogs after a while.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's the dog trying to mimic the human, or... I think people try to mimic dogs. I think people sit there and put the same faces on.
Well, come on. I mean, if the biggest concern of your day is whether or not you're going to get the kibble with gravy or the dry kibble, that's a life to envy. That really is. I would imitate a dog too if that would mean that would be my biggest concern of the day.
Yeah, perhaps.
I wonder if I can get gravy on my steak tonight. Oh.
But then to have no real control over whether or not you do.
Granted, and that would be upsetting.
It would be upsetting.
Mm.
I don't know. I take it back. Perhaps I don't want to be a dog.
I want to have a lot of decisions made for me. How about that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
I would like to get scratches without ever having to give scratches in return.
Ooh, a good one. Yes. Yeah. Have people apologize for me for my flatulence.
Yes. I'm sorry, he's so farty.
He's gassy today. He just started new food.
Yes, I want that. That I do want.
That's when you know you've got a true friend working for you. Just comes up and say, hey, my friend, he looks a little gassy right now. Don't worry about it.
A little gassy right now. I need somebody to pick up my poo with a plastic bag. Just follow me around. I want to be able to poo anywhere. And I need somebody to follow me around and clean up.
Isn't that what the agent is for? I'm sorry.
Oh.
Okay. Whoa!
Boo, boo.
I'm sorry.
I hope my agent isn't listening to this.
Me too.
Because yes, that is what my agent is for. No.
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 They're the ones that scout out places to poo where you won't get caught.
That's right. And then they take a percentage of the... I don't know. Never mind.
10% I can provide, but I'm just saying. Okay. Well, everyone, today we have been speaking with Peter New. Thank you so much for coming by today.
Real pleasure. It's been a delight. Thank you so much.
Are there any projects you want to plug real quick?
There's nothing that is jumping to mind right at the moment. I know I did a movie a while ago called Gula City, which I think is going to be coming out at some point this year. I haven't heard anything about it yet.
Okay.
So keep your ears peeled. It's Goola City. I play Dig the Pig. I'm very excited about that.
Okay.
And I've just done I've done a couple of things on set this year, which has been exciting that I can't talk about yet. So
of course,
hopefully that will, hopefully those things will materialize.
So, Peter, would you say this has been a successful interview?
Nope.
Oh, burn! I failed. Okay.
Yes. Yep. Pass.
Okay.
That's Big Mac teasing you. This is so final.
Nope.
Yup.
I love it. There's no comeback for that. You can't come back to a one-word response.
I know. This is so closed. The door is closed.
Mm-hmm. It's like getting a one-word sympathy. You're explaining everything that's wrong with you. Bummer.
That's right, yeah.
But, thanks, I guess?
Yeah, I'm sorry for venting for an hour.
Yeah, really.
Can you help? Oh, bummer. Crud.
Dude.
Dude, yeah. That sucks about your gran.
Oh, great. Well, thank you very much for your hard work and for coming by.
Thank you very much for your hard work and for asking me good questions.
Yay! Everyone, this has been Osaka Jack with Into the Spotlight on Everfree Network. We'll catch you next time.